wanted to touch on the subject of, especially with it being Mental Health Awareness Week, of postpartum depression. So, little backstory: when I had my son, it was one of the toughest periods in our relationship, as far as when shit really hit the fan.
You know, it was our only, both our first child, our only child. But when she gave birth to our son, it's like she just thought the world was crumbling down. I used to look at her like she was crazy. Like, what do you feel?
Relationships, especially if you're like a first time mom or if you have other children, you face this issue of dealing with postpartum depression, mainly because it just hits you and you don't even know that you're actually going through the depression. And at this time, he was doing event planning and promotions where he was throwing parties literally 5 days a week. And he was in corrections. So he literally would come home, take a nap, get dressed, and he's out the door. And I'm just left sitting there, big, swollen. I was left. That's how in dealing with postpartum depression, this is why I wanted to have this discussion, because men, again, when women are going through this, men tend to brush it off. It's like, oh, you're crazy, or she's acting out, or whatever the case may be, when you can't tell somebody else how they feel. And at this time, I truly felt alone. Like, my best friend had just moved to Atlanta. I just felt super alone in this period. And so once I had my son, I think that it became really tough for me because my son was born a little earlier than he was supposed to be. And he
premature.
I remember when I had him, I didn't have an emergency C-section.
You were going to the hospital for a checkup.
And the doctor pretty much was like,
you gotta have him now.
And I was like, what do you mean? He's not scheduled to come yet. I wasn't prepared. He was still at home trying to put together the crib. Pretty much, he didn't have a lot of fluid around him. So I'm like, what does that mean? I'm getting worried now and scared. And she's like, he can suffocate and we gotta have him today. So we get to the hospital and, they tried to induce me twice and it didn't work. So they was like, you're gonna have an emergency C-section. And I literally just broke down because I'm like, I didn't want to have a C-section or whatever. I heard all these horror stories. So this goofball, he's in there just with this $1 million smile, smiling, and I'm crying and I'm
emotional. Y'all gotta understand, she thinks she's the toughest person in the world. So I'm just sitting there like, yo, you're about to meet your blessing in less than 10 minutes. Like, why are you not happy?
I was just at the baby. I literally saw my baby for probably like 5 seconds. And they were like, oh, that's just not. And they were like, we got to rush him to the NICU. And I'm like, what's going on? And at this time, like, I was really like drugged. They put me in the room with a woman who had just had a baby. And she had this new baby with her. And mind you, I haven't seen my baby since the 5 seconds I saw him.
Well, I was with him.
It didn't matter. That's what I'm trying to say. It didn't matter. Like, I'm his mom. I carried this baby and I didn't get to really hold my baby or anything. So, as this lady's in the room, she's breastfeeding and she, I'm like, oh, can I see your baby? This, that, that. And I started to get really like depressed for the simple fact I wanted to hold my baby just as this woman was holding her baby.
Oh, so, I see what you're saying.
As it was just very depressing. And then there was, had a C-section. So it felt like I got hit by like 10 buses. And yes, it hurt. No. Let me cut you down there.
What? Right.
So, giving me pictures, and as you see in the pictures, I just see this tiny little baby, and I'm like, whose baby? Whose baby is that? And he's like all happy and everything, but at this point, I'm like kind of growing resentment because of the simple fact I'm like, oh, he gets to bond with the baby.
You about to cry?
I did. So small, and he was like he was underweight. And he was like really wrinkly and like really looked like Benjamin Button. And
suddenly looked like no Benjamin
He did. He looked like Benjamin Button, and I can hold him in one hand. And I was just like, that's like, I just remember asking God, like, what did I do wrong to get this baby? Not understanding the blessing. Again, he's my baby, but what, like, why is he hooked up to all these machines and everything like that? I just couldn't grasp it at that time. In that moment, I felt like I had this baby. I was pregnant for all of these months, and here I am leaving with a car seat with no baby. So it was very, very hurtful and depressing. Like, even though I know he's in this hospital, that I couldn't leave and take my baby home. So we had to come and, visit the
vision
baby.
That you had, go to the hospital.
No, it wasn't.
Baby.
I only got to bring him home. Then it became the resentment of, now I feel like I'm stuck with this baby. I'm a first time mom. I don't know what to do. I was scared. It was literally one time I had to call my mom and I was super scared and crying because of the simple fact that I don't know what I did or whatever, but he had started to choke and he had turned really blue, and I called my mom and I'm scared, and she rushed over and he ended up being okay. But it was just those things that again made me start to feel more insecure about being a mom. I'm with this baby and he's still working and trying to, he, as a man, he's looking at it like, I'm going out to work and provide for you guys, but in this moment, I'm really getting pissed. It felt as though, I was alone. Like, I didn't really have a bunch of friends around me. He was working all the time, and I was bonding with the baby, and I was happy for that. But I felt like I wasn't myself no more. I wasn't getting dressed up. I had gained weight, and I wasn't really getting any sleep, and it just started to wear and tear on on me and my mental health. And in turn, our relationship is what took the blunt of it, because I was jealous. Like, you get to leave, you get to go to work, and I'm stuck with the baby, and I gotta, it's all this crying, it's not me getting any sleep, and he didn't know how to handle it. He really did it. So again, he looking at it like, this heifer is crazy, and meanwhile, I'm just dealing with emotions I don't know how to put into words, and I don't know what I'm feeling.
I'll be back syndrome. I'm not about to deal with it.
People tend to walk away from their relationship versus trying to fix it.
But we fought through it.
We did. We went to counseling, and with depression, like, again, it has no face. It looks like this. It looks like that. You
never know what it's going to
You never know when it, never know what a person may be going through. And at that time in my life, it was the worst time of, like, I was going through so much, and my hurt, in turn, I put hurt people, and I was putting it on him. And in turn, like I said, I used to want to fight. I used to want to yell. I used to want to scream, because I didn't know how to fully express myself or what I was feeling exactly. I didn't know to call it postpartum depression. Nobody had ever educated me on that or educated him. So we didn't know what it was. We just looked at it like, oh, we just going through this or whatever. We fight, we arguing about stupid stuff. Once we went to counseling,
the counselor was like, you're going through postpartum depression. And we was like, what's that? She reiterated, and it was like, okay.
We didn't handle it at first. It was the toughest time. We literally broke up. I went my way, he went his for a while, and we were trying to figure it out as co-parents. Even when it took the step to me about to move to Atlanta, we were on let's go to the courts, let's figure this out, because it had gotten really bad. So thankfully we did work through it. We seek counseling. We worked on it on our own, and honestly, we still carried a lot of the trauma of postpartum when we came and moved to Atlanta. Married now, we're newlyweds, we're happy now. After having a kid, it's not easy. Like, having a baby alone is tough.
Don't give up on your wife, and that's what you say you will be there for, and that's what she says she'll be there for. This is what y'all going through.
And so it's a lot, like, when you have a kid, and I'm still a first time mom. Go from being able to do what you want, get dressed and be cute and set goals for yourself, go travel and stuff like that, to be halted. Not to say we don't do those things now. I had to face it. I'm happy I came up out of it. I know I heard some really traumatic stories of postpartum where women have hurt their children or, wanted to hurt themselves. And you owe it to yourself, and you owe it to your child to live and to fight and to be the best person and best version of yourself you can be, so that they can be the best version of themselves they can be. So I'm happy that we worked through it. And again, like men, don't easily just give up on your spouse because you might see, certain signs of, you might look at it as they're being crazy, where they're just going through some emotions that they can't express, and they need you the most at their time.
Step up, man, and you have to be strong.
Always be encouraging, telling them they look beautiful, telling them, just giving them encouraging affirmations to make them feel great about themselves, because when you're going through postpartum, is when you, no matter what nobody says, you tend to feel the worst about yourself.
You need to just pay attention more.
Take time for yourself, for you too. Don't just, always have to engage, get trustworthy people around you to help you. And
you beautiful. I even tell you that every day. Like, I can't say, I don't know why you didn't feel like that, but acknowledge the fact, like, yo, you're beautiful, you're pretty, you this, you that. You got to take heed to that. And social media stuff and distraction out here, that people tend to lose focus on what they got. So people have to pay attention to that. Like, you don't supposed to make them feel like out of sync or something, like, nah, you ugly, You don't say things like that. You encourage them, like, look,
encourage them all
yeah,
the time.
all the time.
Because
Like,
you definitely need to. You just
they
need to
need
be
that
uplifted.
reassurance. Like people
Because again, you may never know when a person is going through depression.
might be that trigger that just make their light shine. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
a little more
so
brighter.
be the light in a world full of